Hey everybody, welcome to Nerd Dad's Lair. Tonight, I'm going to do a little live build of a RedCat Wendigo. So I'm just going to jump straight to the bench and show you what I got in the mail today. Right. See, this is the Wendigo Builders Kit. It comes with all of the requisite pieces. What's up, Jerry? It comes with all the requisite pieces to put this truck together. It is, however, in pieces. Which is going to be a good time, I think. So there's no way we're going to get through this whole thing in one video, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up because I hadn't checked out what's in it. Let us see. Let's see what we get here. It's a big box of parts, that's for sure. And I did actually at the same time make sure to get an extra. This is an extra sway bar set. So this sway bar set's going to go in the front. This truck does have a rear sway bar. This is a rock racer. It is not a crawler, so it is fast. So to counteract some of that twist that we're going to get at faster speeds, and I do plan on putting a brushless system in this, I definitely wanted a little bit of stiffness up front with a sway bar. So what we get some nice big 2.2-inch IROC Super Swampers. This is nice. These are big old tires. These are very large. You know, that's the size of my hand. So very big tires in this kit. We'll get the clear body. I'm trying to get in this place where you see box in there. I might just move the box down to the side. I'm gonna move the box down to the side real quick. Okay. Now we'll take all the parts out. There's the Wendigo clear body. I have some plans for this. It is untrimmed as of yet. So this will be the first Lexan body that I've ever had to trim. I'm not so sure that I want to do that on a live stream. There's a lot of holes required to be reamed in this, and yeah, I've never ever trimmed a Lexan body. So that should be an interesting day when that happens. They did send us some amendment instructions because apparently the instruction manual in the box needed some changes right out of the gate. Again, these are the tires, so let's give you a little visual here. That's the wheel well, so it's gonna look like this. It's gonna be a big boy, I'm telling you. It's gonna be massive tires on this thing, and it ought to be able to spin them up real good with a 3300 or 3200 kV Holmes Hobbies brushless motor in it. Then we have our trees full of parts in bags. That's bag P1. This looks like a lot of stuff for the diffs. Transmission. I see some transmission parts in there. A few different trees. I'm gonna move this clear body out of the way because we aren't doing that on this stream. That's gonna be a while. Let's see. We have bag P2 in here. I see some bumpers. There's the skid plate, some of that stuff there. Bag. This is the hardware bag, so the gears, a bunch of screws and rod ends and rods and all that stuff in there. This one seems to have the shock bodies, which the Builder's Edition actually comes with better shocks than the Ready to Run. So they do make this in a Ready to Run. Man, those are some big springs. Those are some hefty big boy springs right there. And that is a large bore shock. It's a large shock bore. Man, that thing is gonna have a good time. And it came with some 25 and 30 weight RedCat oil. I do have some 35. We'll probably run 35 in it. I don't know. It's going fast. I may go thin. We may go with. I have some 25 too. We may go with 25. So. Okay, what else we got? Bag 3. This one appears to have, I don't know, some odds and ends. I see the grill. They included some scale accessories, so they got some sand ladders in here, jerry can, a couple fire extinguishers, kind of stuff. So that's cool. It has body posts in it and some cage components. It looks like. What we got down here? There's a couple more bags. This one looks to be bag A, which is bearings and pinion gears and all that stuff. I know I'm going to need that quickly up front. This bag has driver's head, so this does have a faux interior. It's a Lexan interior, and this bag includes a driver's head and the light buckets. So this car does also have ready-to-go light buckets. It doesn't come with the LEDs, but it has a bucket. Then we have another bag with our plastic beadlock rims, and these are silver, but they are going to get painted. They're not going to stay silver. So I have some thoughts on the color scheme we're going to go with for this truck. Looking forward to that. In fact, I think these beadlocks are fake beadlocks. They're not real beadlocks. They're appearance of beadlocks. And then in a whole separate thing, we have the frame rails. So they're the RedCat stamped steel frame rail. It's real nice and stiff. Not going to be much flex in this rig, for sure. And at the very, very bottom, we have the manual and this clear piece of plastic. I don't know what this clear piece of plastic is for. Maybe it's the top? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where that comes into play. But we're going to start with this manual right here, which also has a sticker sheet on the back. So it has stickers for the driver's seat belts, some lighting. It has like a hijack lift here, all kinds of cool little stuff. So, all right, I'm gonna open this up and see where we start. Now, I do have the instructions up online, so I can reference that too. We're looking at plastic bag 1 and bag A, I believe. We're gonna start with building diffs, it looks like, but I am gonna use the physical book as well. There's a screw set in here. I'm not sure what those are for, so I'm not gonna touch it. We'll come back to that. So I'm going to put bags away that we are not going to use right this minute. We are going to start with bag A and plastic bag 1. And I think that's P1 for plastic bag 1. I'm going to leave bag A right there that has the diffs in it. So we'll put these hardware bags away. And this plastics bag away. And this bag away, and that bag away. All the bags go away. Now, I do want to look at this amendment before we get too far. Says there's an error on page 14. So I have to remember when I get to page 14 that there was a problem and I need to go look at other instructions. Hopefully I remember that. And I'm going to put my other sway bar kit in the box as well. Okay, so I'm going to put my instructions on my right side and I'm going to get out my tools because we're going to go straight to wrenching on this thing. I'm excited to put it together. I've actually never put a kit together like this. So I'm super stoked. Be wrenching on a full kit, and I got a killer deal on this from Team RedCat Shop. They are great over there. I highly recommend it for those of you who would be into a kit like this Wendigo kit. I know that I'm going to need some thread lock, which I'm using blue Loctite. I know it's in a red container, but it's blue Loctite, I promise. I'm gonna pour out a little bit of blue Loctite. I really ought to order some more of this because I use it a lot. I think I'm going through it. Pour out some blue Loctite. Get my screwdrivers all aligned here and my nut drivers. Put the spare parts away in my other rig. And let's tear in. So, a plastics bag 1 and hardware bag 1. So we're gonna get some bearings out. It looks like we're going to start with bag A for hardware. There are some axles in here. There are drive shafts. There's the ring and pinion gears, which are all metal. They're nice quality. Single piece pinions. They don't screw on. They're not screw on pinions. That's nice. A bunch of screws. More screws. These are screws and bearing pouches that look like one's going to be the front, one's going to be the rear diff. And then we have our sleeves. So this uses sleeved axles, axle sleeves. So they're plastic housings, but it does have metal sleeves, which is super cool. I don't have a place for trash, so we just throw the trash away. All right, so it wants us to put our pinions together first. We're gonna do that real quick. We take a spool and the pinion gear. That is so cool. They did a good job on the machining of this stuff. It looks nice. This is a really light pinion spool or ring spool. It's aluminum, machined aluminum, very, very light. And they are referencing that we need to put Loctite on this. Now I need some screws. I'm trying to figure out exactly which screws are which here. So we are, I think it's going to be these. Man, I can't really tell. I can't really tell what's what here. Now, these are flat-headed. Flat-headed screws. They appear to be, anyway. It may be part of these kits. It is, in fact. It is part of these kits. So each one of these kits is for the diff. Arr. So I want to open this up in my trusty paper plate over here. I love using paper plates as part separators. That shall be what we do. So, there is one bearing kit for a diff. Yep, and there are the holes. Let me get my screwdriver together. I believe this is going to be, there's only 3 sizes required for this entire thing. 3 size screws in this entire kit, which is super cool. I think that was very nice of them to minimize the amount of tool change we have when assembling this. I think it's just going to be these 3 right here. There we go. So I'll get them all prepped out, because we will be using all of them. Alright, so there's one screw. Get some thread lock in that thing. We will assemble some spool. Ah! I already missed. I already missed. I feel like I got a lot of Loctite on that either. Maybe it's a good thing I missed. Because you don't want this screw. You don't want these screws backing out on you in the middle of using this rig. That is not where you want to have a prost. Right? There's another one. Then it looks like we're gonna go ahead and assemble after this put into the diff cover with bearings. So I see the pinion. I see the bearings we're going to put on the other end of the spool. There's bearings on either side of the spool, which I think those are easy to identify here. And then there's some housing bearings as well. So I'm going to tighten these up. Not over tight. They have thread lock. They're not going anywhere. Yeah, I feel like that one's already stripped. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Let's see if I can find a star bit. Maybe I want to do this with stars. Yep, I do want to do this with stars. Stars are better. We're not going to use a standard bit. Okay, so that is one spool assembled properly. And we got 2 bearings, 1 for each side of this. Okay, so now we have a rolling spool assembly. Then we need some plastics. So we need to find the diff covers. Should be 2. Somewhere on these trees, man, there's a lot of links in here. Let's see, that looks like a diff cover to me. This looks like a diff cover to me as well. This one's still on a tree. Oh, I forgot one tool, everybody. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. It is also important when you're doing this kind of work to have a sharp knife. So I don't have my knives. Terrific. So we're not going to have one. We'll use a dull knife. Oh, back down we go. Alright, so that's okay, I guess. Not my favorite idea. What I like to do is clean up the molding. So right here, you can't really see it, but there's just a little spot where the molding happened. I'm not super thrilled about. That I would love to get rid of. So I think I have a knife on my multi-tool. We'll just scrape that real quick. Just want to get rid of that mold line from where it was on the tree. I don't want it to cause any issues down the road, alignment or anything like that. So, okay, that's better. We'll take it. All right, so in this part of the housing, we've got it oriented like this. There are 2 required bearings for the pinion. So one of these pinion bearings is right here. One on the inside, one on the outside, it appears. Okay. And I really, it doesn't recommend grease here, but by God, it's gonna get some grease. We're not gonna let these bearings ever have lived ungreased. There's no reason for that. So, not when grease is so easy and cheap. Just a little bit. I like to do it on a brush like this. This is marine grease. I like the use of marine grease in these kinds of things. Nice and smooth. There we go. Now, I'm not really going to be able to grease this one, so I'm going to put just a dab on the backside. Just a little bit. Ooh, actually. Different bearing. Wow. There we go. One of these. Smaller bearing on the outside. That's okay. It wants us to do this twice. All right. All right. So there's the whole assembly. We're gonna make another one. Pinion turns. Now we're gonna have to pay attention to our pinion mesh. Feels like it's gonna be nice. I don't think I'm gonna have to shim it at all. We shall see. All right. Number 2. Repeat. Repeat and repeat. So we'll get another ring and pinion set going here. Let me know in the comments if you own a Wendigo. I've never seen one in real life. I've watched a lot of videos. They are really cool looking. I am excited to see her go. That's for sure. Also, let me know in the comments if you know what a Wendigo is. Apparently, it's some kind of like devilish beast creature thing. I don't know why RedCat chose that for this. Maybe because this thing is such a beast. But it is an awful affordable beast if that is the case. Especially when you get to build it yourself. I'm really looking forward to the paint jobs. I get artsy. I'm a little too artsy sometimes. I like to paint the intricate, which is just perfect for this scale building. This is not a true scale truck, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be. All right, so this one was still on the tree. Man, that came off the tree so nicely. It's just perfect. It even has the part numbers molded into the tree. Man, that's handy. Okay, so we put these bearings in here. Go. There's an assembled ring gear, and then we need a little bit of grease, and we're going to set the bearings in the back of this case again. A little bit of grease. There we go, just a dab. Gonna put it around there. The manual does not, again, the manual does not say that I need to put grease here. However, I need to put grease here. Just because the manual doesn't specify grease in this location doesn't mean it's going to hurt it to have grease in this location. Okay. That is 2 fully assembled ring and pinion sets. Now we get to move on and assemble the axle housings. All right, so step 2 is, I'll show you on the camera. I could actually pull this up on the, we're going to assemble the housings now. I could pull this up on the computer because I have it sitting over there, but yay. So here are the axle housings, really nicely molded. This is some high nylon plastic, man. There's no giving this. It is stout, very stout. Now in this, I'm going to be concerned a bit about. Oh, they snap right off, man. I thought the mold lines would be really tough. They are not, because it's such high nylon content. It's more brittle when you go to snap it like that, so it doesn't peel and tear. Clean up that tree attachment real fast. So I don't have to go feel bad about it later when I'm messing with it and see it. Okay. Get that on both of these. I believe both of these axles are identical. I do not believe there's any difference between the front and the rear in these axle housings. I don't see it any. All right, so now we're going to set our gear sets into the housing. Again, this is a good time to throw a little bit of grease on it. Now, this step does actually include grease by spec, but it's on the pinion gears themselves. So, or on the ring gears. I'm going to just lubricate the edges of my bearings a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit in here. It's just a very, very ever so light coat. Nothing crazy. I'm probably never going to see the surface again, and I don't want to try to down the road grease it. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to grease this up in a second. I'm just trying to see what the fit feels like. Oh man, yeah. Your mesh feels okay. It's not super tight. It's a little clunky, a little bit. We may wind up shimming that at some point. Right now, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. A good old gob of grease on here. Put right on this ring. We'll float it around in a second. All right, now for some screws. That's an empty bag now. That's an empty bag now. So I'm trying to determine what screws this is going to be. I don't think it's those. I think it's going to be this bag because I see some nuts involved. Arr. Yes, I believe this is correct. So I have 4 of the small ones each. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 6. Only 6 of those. Or is it this? Oh, that's for front axle. I don't know. It didn't tell you. It's not real good about telling you what kind of screws to use. Let's see. These are going to be the 14582 by 8. Now that might be these. Actually, you know what? I lied. It is very good at telling you. I'm just an idiot. My bad. My bad. Okay, so I need to make sure what fits star bit wise. I think this is a T8. Yes. It'll be a T8 for this one. T8 for this one. Okay. Let them go away. Alright, I got it all lined out now. We're gonna tighten down the diff cover here. This is where you could really make use of some power tools that I don't have, as long as you have them that have an adjustable torque. If they don't have adjustable torque, it's very easy to strip this out. Even the high nylon content stuff is easily stripped if you just go hammering on it. So we're not doing that. Looks like the next part of this step is we're going to put some link brackets on here. And I like these axles. They are definitely they're not licensed. They're not a licensed axle. They're not a licensed Curry. But I mean, they're clearly Curry inspired. You can see the pumpkin is the geometric shape. More of a basher style on this. Something you're not going to get hung up on when you hit a rock real hard. And it really feels like if you were to pound a rock into this thing, it wouldn't give. I mean, it feels like you're not going to crack it or something stupid. You go pounding into the rocks with this thing at speed. I'm not going to over tighten this. Just tighten enough. Yeah, let's see. The gear mesh feels much better with it tightened. It's just barely ever so much slop. I think that'll wear in nicely. All right, there's one axle housing done. Go on to the next one. And again, I'm going to lightly grease sides of this bearing. Just lightly. No, it's grease filled from the factory. But you can never have too many grease surfaces when it comes to metal rolling objects. It's a motto there. Never have too many grease surfaces. Big old gob of grease for the pinion to mesh with. And we're just going to sit her down. Sit her around a couple times, get that grease sloppy. And let's start putting screws in her. Then it looks like I'm going to need some brackets for hangers. So this is definitely the link hangers. The double shear, it looks like, which is nice. Some good old double shear stuff. Ugh. If you're out there watching, feel free to leave me a comment. Let's be interactive while we build this car together. Be part of it. Try to guess what color you think I'm going to paint this thing. I'll tell you that the accents are all black plastic, so what do you think would go with black plastic? I've got some really good ideas. In fact, I've already ordered the paint. So I know what color I'm painting it, but tell me what you think I should paint this car. Maybe it'll change my mind before I get the airbrush out. It's supposed to be down to, in this part of the world anyway, down to 0 or right at -1 degree here, which I have in this state never experienced negative degrees. I have in another state I've lived, but not this one. Really strange to happen here. I didn't even know it existed. Yeah, let me know what color you think would be acceptable for the Wendigo. Definitely, this is part one of the build. It's gonna be a mini part build. I think this thing's gonna take me about a week to put together, and then we'll have to do the electronics separately. So I've got the electronics in mind, some Holmes Hobbies electronics, because that dude's just awesome. There's our two axles completed there. We're gonna turn one of these into the rear. Anyway, I've got some Holmes Hobbies electronics in mind for this, because that dude makes great stuff, and he deserves to be supported. Absolutely. There's some housing. There's some link hangers. Make sure I don't have any other parts. Now this is part number 8510175 and RER 12613. Make sure. I think these are all identical. Yeah, they all appear to be identical. All these hangers appear to be the same. Some of them are on the some of them are on the mold, some aren't. There are little bitty indentions here where the mold caught. I'm gonna clean those little buggers up real quick. I like it to be as clean as possible when it's first assembled like this. Again, I've never put one of these kits together. I used to build model kits. I used to really love model kits. So I was always that way about everything I put together. It's got to be as pristine as it can be from the start. All right. So for this, we're actually going to need a nut driver. And it doesn't say to Loctite these, but it uses nylock nuts. I am not a fan of nylock nuts without Loctite, to be honest with you. It may just be me, but just not my jam, man, to not use Loctite, even when using a nylon nut. Feels like it's a good idea, but they'll still back out on you. Good try, you know. Okay, hang in there. Get in there, nylock nut. You can do it. All right, so we're gonna pull this out and we're gonna throw a little Loctite on the end, just a dab. Dab will do it. Now this goes with the ears up. It goes like this. So we're actually looking at the wrong screw. Thank goodness. So I'm laying it out this way. Pulls up. Go in this hole. Ah! Get in there. Goes. All right, I'm not going to get that tight yet. Another one on the bottom. You have the hangers the right way up. That's good. Take them off again after I've thread locked them like this. So inside of these, they've inset the pattern of the nut, so you don't have to hold it. I thought I was going to need a wrench. You don't have to hold it at all. How handy dandy. Super easy. All right. Now, next hanger on this side. There's a whole lot of hanging going on right here. The hang sesh. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. His nerd dad's gaming lair after all. We have to have dad jokes. Actually, I put on here Nerd Dad's or NDL Racing because I think there's going to be enough videos like this to warrant an offshoot. NDL Gaming. Just for RC stuff. You guys let me know if that's a good idea. I really like this stuff, so I would love to share it with you a little bit more. Okay. And then we put the same hangers on the other axle. The axles are coming together. One axle with link hangers. Okay, now let me make sure that the same rule applies for the other one. Yeah, I would say so. So the way this is going to work is they're going to oppose each other. Yeah, they're going to oppose each other as such. And yeah, so that makes sense. The hangers can go the same because these axles are just going to absolutely oppose each other in offset. One is not straight; they're both offset axles. One of them was going to wind up being straight across. It would be a different deal, but that is not going to happen in this layout. So up in the same direction on the second axle as it is on the first. Oh no! Oh no! I've lost a nut. I have a loose nut. Hold on. We'll get this in first, and then I'm gonna go hunting for a nut. Nut hunt. Come on. I only have a certain amount of time this Loctite is gonna stay liquid. You put it on metal and it starts going. We're just gonna put the hanger in. Sometimes it works best to put the hanger and put something like that and let it suck the bolt up. Nut up into the hole after you've got a thread or two in it. That one was one of those. It was one of those times. Definitely gonna have to go find that nut though, because there are no extras in this kit. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit. It's gonna be a good time too, because it went under my computer desk, so it could be anywhere. Okay. One hanger on and tightened. And now it's time to nut hunt. So, I don't have my phone. I'm gonna have to get that. And I'm probably gonna hit this camera. Hit readily. That is the question. No. Why would I be able to see it easily? That would be too simple. Grr. Okay. My phone's over here, and it's a flashlight. That's what I use my phone for. That's all it's good for. Huh. Well, that's cool. I don't see it at all. Hmm. Accurate. Question seems to have utterly and inexplicably totally disappeared. It's possible. I have space. Just maybe. Maybe possible. I'm not gonna count on it. I'm gonna look in one place first. Bear with me. I'm going on a nut hunt. Heard it bounce around. I found it. It went as far out of the way as it possibly could. Of course. Why would it be? Why would it be simple? Huh? Why would it ever want to be simple? That's just part of building. Sometimes you lose your nuts. Don't quote me on that. Try not to do it twice. It's kind of difficult to get this in the right spot. My fingers are big and the placement is small. Hence the dilemma and why I dropped the nut in the first place. There we go. I got it started. I just have too big of fingers for some of these spots. Made for a child. Not really. I don't think a child could put this together. Maybe some children. Maybe me as a child, I always tore everything apart and put it back together. I maybe could have figured this out. All right, there's two axles with link hangers as instructed. Now, the next step looks like sleeving the axles. Easy McPeasy. Looks like these things just push on in. Push on into a point, don't they? Then they don't want to go anymore. Oh, that's a long one. Push these sleeves in, and they should go, in theory, all the way down. Now, this is where something like a rubber mallet would be handy, but as in I don't have one of those, I'm going to tap it home with a pair of rubber-handled pliers so as not to mar the finish here. Really don't want to mess up the ends of those axle covers. Man, these things are getting heavy now. That's nice. Steel inserts. I mean, RedCat they really did well on this. I'll give them props, man. I hadn't got that far into it, but having just watched a bunch of reviews, and I will say, as far as reviews go, everybody basically agrees this is not the world's best rock crawler. And is never going to be so. That's okay. I wanted something different. You know, I have a really good crawler. My Gen 8 is a fabulous crawler. What I wanted was a little different take on things. And I think that's exactly what this is going to bring to the table. All right, so next thing, it looks like I found a use for those 6 screws that I had earlier. We're going to put tops of these axles. So it actually comes with some bracings for the tops of these axles. Man, these things are getting beefy. They're so chunky. Amazing me how much time and effort RedCat put into this. How many different molds and designs they had to have just to accomplish all these parts. Okay. This one, there's the hanger. I think it appears to go this. So it provides some bracing on the top of the axle, top of the housing, and apparently this is going to be, well, wait a minute, that might be all of the link mounts. What I mounted there might be shock mounts only. So it's possible. Make sure there's no weird molding defects on this that I want to cut off first. There's one right there. Break that one just a bit. Flatten her up a tad. Okay. Now there are three screws per side for this. It's just a little wonky. If you look, it has a little bit of compression. So if I press on it, you see the light through there. If I press on it, it closes up. That's okay. It ought to be fine. No Loctite on this because it is plastic to plastic. I'm using the right screws here. I am. I'm definitely not going to over tighten this because with a little bit of spring that it has, it would want to pull right out if I took the threads out of it. This is going to be pretty integral to the suspension, so I don't want it to pull out when it's got suspension links attached to it. Just going to get it hand tight plus a quarter. As John Holmes of Holmes Hobbies would say, one ugga dugga, quarter ugga dugga. I've watched basically every video he has on his YouTube channel. If you haven't, and you're interested in RC crawling specifically, because that's really all he does, definitely go check him out. Smart dude, knows his stuff. Happy to buy motors from that guy. All right. That is the rear carrier now. Set up for rear, because that's a 4-link. Now this looks like it has, going to be set up for the front. This has 2 links and maybe I don't see where a panhard mounts here. That may be a panhard mount. No, that's a 3-link. There's a 3rd link there. I don't know where the panhard's going to go. Oh, the panhard mount's up here. Yep, panhard's up. Okay, so this one definitely has the panhard mount on it. 3 screws in this one as well. Next step, like we're going to build some axles. Some actual axles, not the carriers, but actual axles. Looks like the way they've laid out the parts bags is efficient. I appreciate that. Don't be wasteful. And this will be just on the front axle in a minute that we're about to do a front carrier. That we're about to build axles out for it. It looks like the cups. We're going to build all the cups and the universals and put the arms, the hubs on there, steering hubs. A little bit of grease involved in the next step. All right, so there's our assembled front axle and the assembled rear axle here. So I'm going to set the rear axle aside because the next step only involves the front axle. And like I did say, it is assembling these axles in the axle. So this one, that one's a rear. That one's a front. Front. Those 2 are rears. I can tell because the fronts have the universal balls in them, which is kind of important. And that is what is in this other bag with the other bearing set. So I'm going to open it up. All its components out on my handy dandy paper plate. So in here we've got stuff for the C-hubs, components to build the axles. These axles will go in here, which feels real nice. Good job, RedCat. And then we're going to build the universal cups too. Where are my cups, bro? There they are. Where are my cups? I got my 2 UV cups. Man, that's going to be sweet. Then we've got so we got to insert this pin and a bushing. I've actually never assembled one of these before. This will be an all new process for me. There's a pin within a pin here that's got to happen, it looks like. And also is requesting a tad bit of grease. So I'm going to go ahead and get some grease squished out. Get my brush ready for greasing. Yeah, so it wants me to grease that pin right there. No prob. No prob, Bob. Some grease. The lightest touch of grease on that pin. Because this thing's going to be swiveling around quite a bit. Now, we put this cup on. Put the main pin through the cup. Okay, now all of this goes into a C-hub. I haven't even pulled out yet. Let me find those. Here are the steering hubs. All of that goes into a steering hub, which looks like it is bearings involved. Bearing and a bearing here. That can't be good. Get out of there. You don't belong in there. Here we go. Pop out. Yeah, I'm not sure how that stays. Oh, no, I get it now. I get it now. I'm an idiot. Okay. I get it now. If you press this enough into the C-hub, then inherently the pin that I just put in will stay. Can't really go anywhere else, assuming you put it in the C-hub. This one's going to go on the other side. Okay, I'm trying to think ahead a little bit of this because it's not giving me super crazy instructions for this specifically. Need a couple of things. There's a couple of more things involved here. I also need the arms, not just the carrier hubs. These go onto the axle itself, which in the Gen 8, Gen 8 has a similar layout to this. However, in the Gen 8, I have replaced these with brass. Not much worry when you got big old brass pieces. Okay, so the way this works is the camber sets forward. It says, yes, the camber sets forward. So that piece goes there, this piece goes here, and we put 5 screws on this thing. 3 5010s, which must be these. No, tis not. Wherefore art thou 5010s? I'm gonna say they're in this bag. With a bunch of other stuff. Right there she is. These 5010s go inside. So there's holes inside here. These thread into. And there's holes on the sides too. So it's just covered in all kinds of directions. Like by the time we're done with this, we'll have a fully assembled front axle with axles in it. The rears just pop in. They're no big deal. They have a component and they just pop on in. Problem with star bits are great. This is a regular hex though, so the star bits kind of want to wobble and get wonky on me. But I prefer the star bit when turning hex. What do you guys think? You regular hex people out there? Or do you like using star and hex? Man, I really need a variable torque screw. That would be super handy. I'm gonna have all kinds of arm cramps tomorrow because of this. Come on now. Get in there. I want to have this ready because when I build the axle cups, put them in the hubs, I don't want to they have to go in there. That pin's going to just fall out. So I want to have a place to put it. There's one. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Grab 3 of these screws. And then it's 2 shorter screws on the ends. Already got screws in it. I was like, why is that so tight? That's why. And put all 3 of these bad boys in there. Anybody out there is watching and knows of a good, for this kind of work, variable torque electric screwdriver. Give me some suggestions. I went and looked the other day while I was getting some hardware for something else, and those things can get expensive. You know, over $100. I really don't know that it's worth spending that much money on. I need something simple. I need to go to Harbor Freight and take a look, really. Harbor Freight is the place to be. I went to Home Depot for that first look, and I know things are going to be, you know, they're going to be cheaper at Harbor Freight. They'll be cheaper made, too, but sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's perfectly acceptable to get a discount on goods because they're discounted goods. They're discount produced. That's okay, as long as you know what you're getting into. Yeah, there's a lot of screwing into plastic, and it really messes with your wrists, for sure. Get in there, man. What are you doing? Stop slipping out. I think this bit's about done. Let's see, what else do I have? I think this one is the right size. We'll go back. We'll unstar my star bit theory here. I don't want to strip these screws out. What's up, Ricky? Putting some axles together. All right, almost got this screw in. Oh, there we go. So now there is my partially assembled front axle. I still have 4 screws left to put in this thing. So we want a couple to go in some holes here and here. That should be these. Should be the right ones. They really don't want these these C-arms coming off, man. Because these C-arms come off and you got some problems. They don't want that to happen. So they have put a total of 5 screws in just the C-arms. Now on my RedCat Gen 8, it has the same kind of design where the C-cups or the C-arms go onto the axle like this, but there's only 3 bolts. And they're real long bolts, and they go down a lot of the width or the depth of the axle housing. They start here and go down like almost halfway. But definitely not this whole 5-bolt monstrosity they got going on here. These things aren't going to come off, that's for sure. I anticipate breaking these C-arms in a cartwheel at some point. This Wendigo will absolutely do a cartwheel with the brushless system that's going to wind up in it. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to do a Holmes Hobbies 3200 kV brushless with probably a 15 tooth pinion. It's a stock 17, but I'll probably do a 15 tooth pinion. And then I'm going to do a Hobby Wing 60 amp brushless ESC. Ought to be more than enough to power this thing. Okay, now we've got all of the necessary items, it looks like to me, on this axle. It's time to assemble these cups. So in the cup, you press the bearing into it. You press your cup into that. Important, make sure the pin is in there well. If not, you can't get it into this bearing, basically. They'll just kind of stick on you. Little grease to get it in there. And then there's another bearing on the outside. So The 2-bearing setup. Kind of nice. I mean, RedCat has definitely made sure that all of the points are supported with bearings. Which I appreciate. There's a whole lot of bearings in my Gen 8. There's a whole lot of bearings in this Wendigo. For sure. Alright, now I'm going to put a little pressure on that. Well, it doesn't, there it goes. There it goes. So that's how the couple symbols. No mention of wanting grease here, and I don't anticipate the need for grease here because those bearings aren't touching each other and not touching a metal surface. So that should be okay. Now that is the longer of the goes in here like this. I'm just going to set it in there for now. We're going to wind up putting some bushings in there in a minute. Got to do this other UV CV joint, universal CV, whatever you want to call it, joint. A little bit of grease on this main pin here. A little bit more brush. Come on, get on there. Give me some grease. Grease me up. A little bit of grease on this main pin. Slather her down. And then the cup and the pin. Okay. That one. Now we'll press the bearings into this steering arm as well. Oh. Knuckles the knuckle. Right, and then we put the cup into that. There we go. One as well. I can just sit in here for now. And then I think on the next step we're going to be attaching. Yep. Bushings and screws. Bushings and screws. And actually, it wants us to go ahead and put an axle on here, or a drive shaft. So that's cool. Let me see what kind of screws we want. We want these. Oh, they're right. Okay. The screws are going to be top and bottom, and then there's a couple of bushings. Now it says, what says it? It doesn't say anything about greasing these bushings. I don't find it's necessary. These are brass bushings. They're kind of pretty self-lubricating, to be honest with you. Since this axle is out of the vehicle, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. We're going to start with short ones. I'm going to put the bushings in. Okay. Ooh, good and tight, too. That way they don't fall out. I hate when you put bushings in something like this, and you go to attach it, and they just fall on out. That's not any good. Okay. Man, that's going to be a good fit. I did make sure to place the steering link connections on the outside of the axle, so you don't get this whole thing built and then realize your steering links you have to tear it all apart for your steering links to be in the right place. That would not be cool. So don't do that. Now I can already tell you from feeling this, I haven't got the screws in all the way. From feeling this, there's not going to be a lot of steering going on. This doesn't have a very wide steering angle. That's okay. It's going to be going pretty quick. This thing, like I said, is going to have a pretty big brushless motor in it. Not too big as to tear up the gears or something crazy, like John Holmes does in his videos. But definitely not going to be slow. So having a limited turning radius may be beneficial. And this is going to have 2.2-inch tires. I'll show you those again if you haven't seen them from when I started the video. But these big old honkers are gigantic. They're big and they're heavy. and they're not super soft. They already have the foams in, but they're not real. They're not firm either. They're not real terrible. So, all right, we'll get this one locked down, and we'll put the other side on. Then we're gonna put some drive shafts in. It looks like that good and tight. Not too tight, obviously. That's plenty. Plenty. All right. Put some bushings in the other side. Thing over there. Ding. All right. Steering goes outward. Get in there. There you go. Put a couple screws in that to lock it down, and then we'll have a fully assembled front axle. Ready for a drive shaft. Put a little bit on that one. I'll go ahead and flip it over and put the one on the top. I don't want to. I don't want to have it flopping around on me while I tighten either one of these. So go ahead and do that. Now, what I'm really surprised of is that, well, no, I guess these cups will hold it in. In my Gen 8, it doesn't have the universal. The universal cups are kind of built in, so it has portals, and they're kind of built into the portal hub. And you gotta use 3 screws to retain that in my Gen 8. So this is a little different design. You can tell the chassis is definitely modeled after the Gen 8, so it's going to be a very similar chassis when it comes down to that. But it looks like they've definitely, it's whole new castings for the driveline components, which is nice. It's good of them to do that. Get the geometries right, all that good stuff. Okay, there we go. Assembled front axle. Yay. Now it wants a drive shaft. So I've got 2 splined drive shafts. One is longer than the other. The front one is the shorter one. It just wants us to assemble this. So, and we have these special little screws for doing it. These absolutely get Loctite. No questions asked about how much Loctite goes on this. You can't possibly have enough Loctite on this joint. There's enough Loctite to visibly still have blue on it. Here we go. My drive shaft. So the drive shafts are plastic drive shafts, but the universals are all the arms are metal. So that is all right. So fully assembled with the drive shaft, front axle. Okay, now for the rears, much easier. In fact, there's a couple of cups that go on here. It's these, and this again is very similar to what's on my Gen 8. It has these. These are brass on my Gen 8. I have done a lot of brass work on my Gen 8. That is for sure. I'm gonna pop these on. It looks like there's some lengthy screws. Healthy, long screws. Put in this. Then we'll put the axles in it. There's going to be a couple of bearings also. So there's some very long screws. Compared to the front, these are incredibly long. But they have to be able to get down this whole thing and into the pockets. Looks like a 1/4 inch or so of actual thread. I'm going to go in. So it'll be enough to hold it in there for sure. And then again, there's 2 retaining screws on the side, just like there's in the front. So we're just about done with the bag that I opened. So we'll be on to the next bag here in a minute, which I'm looking forward to greatly. Greatly, I tell you. is so much fun for me. I have never done one of these assembly kits like this, a builder's kit. I've always wanted to. Like I said, I've done a lot of modeling and I've done a lot of repair. So I've torn apart RC cars and put them back together, which is very similar to this, except for there are no instructions. So you got to figure that stuff out as you go. But yeah, this is awesome, man. I'm digging it. Totally enjoying myself here. Gotta get these screws in there, man. There's so many screws and they're so long. There we go. There's one, and I'm not going to tighten them all the way down until I get all three close, and then I'll tighten them in order. Make sure, because there's a possibility that it wouldn't seat all the way down, and you don't want to tighten it down crooked. That wouldn't be any good for the axles or the bearings they're in. Back around, make sure she's good and hand tight. No more. No more than hand tight. It is good. All right, 3 more on this side, and then I'll put the retention side screws in, both sides, and then we'll slide some axles in the holes. Difficult. It's gonna make me hand screw it in. There must be something inside the mold there. Okay. It's not gonna hurt it. It won't come out. Every little bit to make it not come out is better. Right, so we'll get these in. And it looks like the same thing with this one when we're done. We're going to put the drive shaft on in preparation for the next thing, which I believe actually the next thing is building the transmission. Super excited to do that as well. Everybody looks a good transmission. The one thing I am concerned with, my son likes to come in here while I'm at work. And man, I hope he doesn't run off with something. Because there's no way really when you're in the middle of a build like this, I can't see a way to really like pause it without some pieces out of bags and things. Especially during the week like this. It is a Wednesday after all. We'll see. We shall see. We're about an hour into this, and I've almost got 2 fully assembled axles. That's nice. Oh. My hand is starting to not like me for this. My hand is saying, man, you should have invested in a screwdriver. What's wrong with you? Okay, there's that. So we'll put some retention screws in now. Again, it has the same retention points that the front axle did. Just, right there on both sides of the axle. Almost there. I can't promise you guys that I'm not going to work on this off camera. Might. The next time you see this, it might be, ready for the body components, because I might just put the rest of it together off camera. I can't always stream this stuff. Facebook doesn't like it if you're a gaming channel and you don't stream games often enough. So it would definitely kill us if I did that, but I might do some of this build off camera. And then do some driving, shoot some video for you guys driving. Get in there. I'm also looking at some WPL kits. If you guys heard of WPL, let me know. It's a Chinese manufacturer of scale assembly kits. They have a couple of cool ones I'm looking at. The B-14, which is a military style vehicle. It's like a deuce and a half. Cool. And then they also have a... Oh, really? Oh, I'm an idiot, everybody. The bearings have to go in before the screws. Welcome to my first screw up. Screws retain the bearing. I should have seen that. I should have seen it, but no. I did not. So I'm going to try to back them out and see if I can't get this bearing in there. without having to take them all the way out. Try to do it in like three heights maybe. Let's see if I can get in there like that. Nope. They don't have to come all the way out. They just have to come out enough. Two of them anyway. Not all three. Come out about a half or quarter inch or so. I don't have to completely redo it, but dang it, man. I should have paid more attention. It's right there in the instructions. It doesn't say it, but if you pay attention to the arrows, it clearly means that you need to put this in before those. Very clear. I just ignored it. Get in there. I really don't want to take all of these out. Come on. If I can get this one, yeah, I'm gonna have to get them all. I have to get them all at a quarter inch out. Slide the bearing in on its side. Yes, like this. In fact. Aha! And now I can tighten them up. It should be a little easier because it's threaded now. Okay, so that's what I missed. Oh, you can't really see it. There's not enough light over there. But the bearing goes in, and then the three screws retain the bearing. I was wondering how that was going to stay in there. Should have known. Should have known. RedCat knew what they were doing. I did not. All right, and on this side, we're going to go ahead and slide the axle in after we get that, because there's not really a lot of reason not to. Everything will be assembled over here. I don't see anywhere in here anything about lubing the axle assemblies. So it's all running on bearings. Be okay. Oh, it's a short one on this side. I was getting a long one. Don't want to do that. Go. Ugh. Really? Dude. Okay. I did it all wrong. I did it all wrong. Every bit of it. Okay. You have to have the axle in first. I was just thinking, man, this thing sure does slide out easy. Of course it does. There's literally nothing holding it in. Okay, idiot. Let's do this over. After I've spent all this time wrenching these down and putting the bearing in even. Yeah, I've got to put it in a different way. I mean, I presume that I could do it before I slot the bearing in, but it'd be really difficult. So it's going to be easier in the long run to just undo it. My first big mistake here. Welcome to this. Now, I'm gonna get these loose again, and then I'm gonna pull the whole cap off. Put the axle in. Good to know. I don't have to do it twice on the other side. I just got to do it one more time because I screwed up that side first. Dang you instructions! I'll start looking at them more better. My bad. Get out of there. Get out of there. Now we pull that cap off. In goes the axle prior to installation of this cap. Axle. Now when we retain that with screws, things will be better. What an idiot. Okay. That's why it's on a live stream. I can't cut this stuff out. You know when I screw up. Said we'd be done pretty soon with these full axles, and then I went and did this. Getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, I anticipate this car's going to be a tad noisy. A lot of gear noise going on here. I think we're going to see some gear noise in this vehicle. I know my Gen 8's a little bit noisy. I have re-lubed it a little better, and it's gotten better. But I think just the gear sets that RedCat uses are just a little noisy sometimes, so I anticipate some noise from this one. There are no portals on this axle, so the ground clearance is not going to be as good. But like I said, what I'm building this for is more of a basher anyway. It's not going to be a good crawler. There's just no way in the world that this thing is going to crawl well. I'm going to have 2 sway bars on it. I mean, it's just not going to be a super great crawler, but it's going to be good for dirt hills, and it's going to be good for just tearing up some dirt, which here in this part of this state, that's a lot of what we have. So even with my Gen 8, like I have to find some artificial rocks to crawl. Most of the time those rocks are not what Mother Nature put there. It's pretty rare in this part of the plains. So having something like this that can handle dirt patches real well is going to be fun. Okay. Now, time to undo the other side. Yay! Now I think I'm going to try something over here. Try something. Let me look down this shaft. Yes. So we're not going to take the 2 side mounting screws out. We're going to take the 3 screws out. I'm going to try to just slide the axle down it, and then put the bearing on without taking the side retention screws out, because I don't think we need to in this case. I think just taking these 3 out is good enough to get that whole thing off. Oh, anyhow. Come on now. Oops. If you haven't yet, please like and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/NerdDadsLair. Check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/NerdDadsLair. This video is actually going there right now too, as well as DLive, Periscope, and YouTube. Alright, so I took those 3 out. Now I should be able to stick my axle in there and then pop the bearing on around it without too much trouble. Yes, better. So now I don't have to go after all 3 of those things. Now we put these back. Just took them off, and then we're going to put the drive shaft on. We'll have both axles fully assembled, and it only have taken an hour and a half at that point. Yay! Come on now. Get in there. So I've been looking at some other kits too, other than the WPLs. I'm looking at a G-Made Buffalo. Does anybody out there have a G-Made Buffalo that you can give me some opinions on? I know G-Made has had some questionable stuff in the past. The Buffalo seems to be okay. Seems fine. I've watched some reviews. I like the fact that it's a unlicensed body. It's a little cheaper, but it looks good. I like it. Yeah, I'd like to get one. I kind of like that body style, the square body style. What's going on? Is it a Blazer? Chevy Blazer? No, it's not a Bronco. Anyway, all right. So, assembled rear, assembled front. Now we're gonna get the drive shaft on real quick. Which this is the longer drive shaft. There's more. There's just more travel in the rear than there is in the front on this. So we're gonna grease up my pin and we're gonna Loctite the pin real good here. Again, you don't want to lose a drive shaft pin in the middle of your fun. That will absolutely ruin it. All right, drive shaft's in. We'll give her a spin. Good. Yeah, and the gear mesh feels nice. So I don't think we had to shim anything in there. It feels real nice, actually. All right, guys, we have two assembled axles. I think that's going to do it for tonight's live build. Thank you for hanging in there with me and moving my stuff. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoy this stuff. I want to do more of it. Let me know if you like it down in the comments. Definitely leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. And like I said, if you haven't yet, please like and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/NerdDadsLair. Check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/NerdDadsLair. And until next time, we will catch you nerds later.